Greetings, Pilgrims. Welcome to another episode of the Polygon Pilgrimage, and today I've got something extremely exciting for you. No, your eyes do not deceive you. Yes, we are back in Unity. I never really abandoned Unity, for all of you who were worried. Yes, some of you might be thinking, what the hell, this guy only makes Unreal tutorials and Substance tutorials. That's not true. We do everything, okay? So bear with me if you are here for Unreal and Substance. Don't worry, we're going to be using Substance a lot. But we are doing a Unity challenge here. So it's really good to sharpen your tool set here and make sure that you know a wide variety of programs. I want to make sure that when the day comes that I land a job in the industry, there's not going to be a tool that I have not at least heard of, touched, downloaded, and run through a tutorial for it, okay? The idea here is that I am going to learn as much as I can. That is the goal. So today we are doing the Neon Challenge. Well, not just today. Every day until the deadline, because this one is a big one. Okay, so what Unity wants us to do here is create a awesome environment here that is based on the word neon mostly. As you can see here, very Blade Runner, dark sci-fi, kind of slums of a city, raining, lots of glowing everything. And I'm definitely down for that. I love sci-fi. Oh, and did I mention you can win $20,000? Cha-ching, yes. Now, my absolute goal is to win this prize and split it right down the middle. Half is going to go into the pilgrimage, just paying off bills, that kind of stuff, and we are going to be giving away the other half of the money, as long as we're allowed to charity, okay? So I have an absolutely heartfelt goal for this. We're going to win the money, and we're going to spread the love, okay? So that is the goal, so let's jump in and figure out how we can create something like this. Now, here's a little video here. Let me see if I can play this for you. This will give you an idea of the environment. Lots of things moving, lots of light moving, lots of things glowing, environmental effects, all kinds of stuff going on here. We're going to be throwing everything and the kitchen sink at this project. So it all begins with an idea, right? So we need to make sure that we have our concept down, and we need to make sure we follow all of the rules in here. So I'm going to fire up Trello here, and I want to show you my Trello board. Now, first thing you do when you're creating a challenge like this is you want to make sure you gather tons and tons of reference. So here I have my concepts folder. There's over 50 images in here, all right, of just gathering pictures, just anything that I like the look of it. I like an idea. I like some kind of detail. We're going to capture it here, and we're going to throw it into our mood board. So this is our mood board here. As you can see here, my mood board and then my city. And the mood board is really just a huge collage of all the different details. So this is kind of my city. If you look at this and you just take this building here, I really like the shape of some of the architecture on the outside. I love the shape of this city. I want to have a big frigate flying by. I want to have a building shaped kind of like this. I want to have these over bridges. I want to have things flying by that have lights off the front of them. So you just kind of gather all these things, and now the idea is that we're going to build a city off of this. So as I'm building the structure of the city, I'm going to come back to this for ideas of aesthetic. If I need a shape of like a bridge, see, this would be a great shape of a bridge. You come back to your mood board and you say, okay, give me that flavor, give me that thing that makes me excited. And I look at this and go, oh, I really like this archway. Look at the way that archway is. So if I have to build an archway, I just go ahead and build that shape archway or something similar. Not exact, never exact to this. And this gives us an idea of, look at how bright. Yes, it's dark and it's seedy and it's, there's rain. There's literally a picture from the Blade Runner video game here. We're on target there. But we're going to come back here and there's so much light. And this light, we have to have all these signs glowing. Everything's a hologram. Reminds me, if you've seen the recent film Ghost in the Shell, which is a remake of the original animation film, which is amazing. But that is the kind of environment we're going for here. So we have our idea, excellent. Now we need to go ahead and make sure that we are building to that aesthetic. So one of the things I did was I used some unusual tools. You know me, I'm really good at kind of mixing it up. Let's take a look at our city. So here's my city so far, okay? And I'm a little bit further than this, but this is the file. I want to show you guys kind of as I build and explain as I'm going. I don't want to just jump ahead. So my city is actually an island state, kind of like if you were to expand Liberty Island so that it's big enough that it can encapsulate Manhattan, if that makes sense. So I have a lot of buildings, and then here is like literally I'm going to have some docks and things. And I am going to have a protective wall around the city because it is out in the middle of the ocean. So, but one of the things I had to do was create, obviously, this city of all these buildings and all the different clusters and things. And, you need some streets, and some of this still needs to be adjusted a little bit. But You need streets, and you need different shaped buildings, and different sections of a city. Like we need the slums, we need the high rises, we need kind of in between, we need the park. This giant section in the middle is going to be a park slash train station kind of center hub area. So in order to design all of that, it's kind of hard to come up with this by hand. You just sort of hear like, okay, well, I know I need buildings, but creating this exact shape is a little difficult. So as you can see here, I have a little preview over here. We're going to get to that in just a second. I'm going to explain how I made this. So there's an amazing tool online. Let me share it with you here. Wrong window. Sorry about that. Called the Medieval Fantasy City Generator by Wadabu. Okay, so this is amazing. I'm going to share with you guys the link. But basically, you just decide what kind of size of medieval town you want, and you give it some options. Like, for example, do you want rivers? Do you want a citadel? Do you want random? Do you want it to be continuous? All kinds of things, and a size. So I went for a small. This one you see here is the actual one that I chose. So I want to make sure that I showed it to you here. But then if I click small again, you'll see it rebuilds our city each time I click. So I just click and get a different city. That one's pretty cool. I like that, right on the water there. So this is great for if you're playing a D&D game or if you're just trying to build a city. Hint, hint. So I said, okay, this is great because it gives me these large blocks, the smaller city sections, these neighborhoods, different zones, if you will. And so you just click around till you find one that you like, okay? And then here you can say export, and I saved it as a PNG. Awesome. So let's go back to our city here. So as you can see, each of these sections, if you look at it from above, this is exactly how I did that. I chose actually 3 or 4 different ones, and I overlaid them in Photoshop, and then I chose a kind of conglomerate between them, and that's what we ended up with here. But I'm going to show you how I made these buildings, because initially I started creating these buildings one at a time. You can see some of the original buildings over here. All of these is one at a time. I made a cube, and I just moved some verts around, and I created each building, and then I manually set the height for every building. But that's really slow. So let's not do that. Let's do it the more rapid style. As you can see, these clusters of buildings are all contiguous. Because that's how we did it with this version here, this technique. I'm going to show it to you right now. Okay. So say you want to create this is your city setup, right? You've downloaded your PNG or you've modified it in Photoshop like I have, and now we want to make our own custom city. So let's go ahead and make a plane. So I'm going to make a plane, and I'm going to move it over here. Now, we need to make this plane pretty big, so let's go to our settings here, and we're going to set it to 1 by 1. And this is a 100 by 100 to get this size. I'm going to move that over here. And what I'm going to do is move this up just a little bit, so it's above my reference. Now, what I'm going to do is assign a material to this. Assign new material. A Fong is fine, and we're going to call this trans. So my transparent, so I can up the transparency so we can see through it. Okay? Perfect. Now, if I go to my top view, and I'll frame it up, I need to change this so that I can actually see the texture. So let's go to, where's my textured view? Textured view, and he's still transparent. Let's see. Nope, still transparent. Where's my textures? Well, we can do it from above as well, but I'm trying to get the texture to show up so that you guys can see this the way that I built it. There we go. All right. So put this above. Perfect. Now, we're going to cut into this, and we're going to cut in and create our large sections right away. We don't want to worry about doing one building at a time. That's slow. So I'm going to go down here to multi-cut, and here's exactly how I did this. So I'm going to cut into the surface, and what you need to do is just, at first I'm just going to separate these areas out, because you don't get very good results if the overall mesh here has too many sides to it. Like this is a crazy polygon right now. So I need to cut it up a bit. So what I'm going to do here is start from the outer edge and just kind of come in here and say, okay, we're going to cut this section off like that. All right. I'm just going to do that a few times so that way I can get some connections going like this. Perfect. And just reach the outer edge. The more times we touch the outer edge, the more structurally sound it gets, and the happier it is with showing us our final result. So let's do this a few times. I'm going to come over here, not being too terribly precise, just sort of showing the effect. There we go, and then connect to the outer edge. I'm not going to worry about this big building here. We're not interested in that. Just going to click, click, click. So what I'm doing here is with the tool active, I'm left clicking to do my cuts. I'm right clicking when I am done with that cut but not done with the tool. So then that will reset it so that I can click again. Click again. Okay, let's do just over here. This way we make sure that we have all of our connections. Okay. Oh, that one did not go, so we'll just put them on the side. There we go. Okay. That should be enough that it's happy and it's not going to balk at me and give us crazy errors. Okay. 2 more just to kind of fur it up. There we go. Oh, I missed one. Sorry, I missed one. Perfect. Okay, so let's begin with this section in here, and I'll show you how incredibly fast and easy this is. So we're going to cut down the middle of the street here. We're just going to follow the lines, essentially. So let's turn this off for a second. I'm going to move these vertices just a bit. Now we need to be a little bit more precise. I'm trying to make sure that I'm down the city street corridors here. Okay, there we go. So now, back to our cutting. So essentially what we're going to do is cut down all of the alleyways and cut in between all of the buildings here. So if I cut from here to here, you'll see I went down that alleyway. And now if I can cut from here to here, I can go down that alleyway. And now I can go from here to here. And you can see what we're doing here. We're just kind of cutting through. I'm going to combine those because that's fine. We can angle that. And now we can cut from here. You can be very precise. Like if I want to go right from there to there. Now here's a good example of how to handle one of these inner alcoves. Because this would be perfect. I can just cut, 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 and then we make all of our buildings. But here we have this kind of inner alcove we have to deal with. So I'll show you how to deal with that. No worries. So cut this like that. Now what I'm going to do is drop out of the tool for a second to readjust some of my vertices here. One here. I don't want both of those. I just want you. I'm going to move this guy manually because he was pretty close. My tool was cutting incorrectly. So then we'll cut this across like that. There you go. Okay, almost done. It goes really fast once you get the core connections done, like something like this. Then it's really super easy to come across like this, like this. I did my entire city in about 3 minutes. Oh, see, I made a mistake there. This should go down here first, and this should go across here like that. And that was 3 minutes, including some time just stopping and staring at it going, well, do I really want that? You know, that kind of thing. Okay, so we're going to just do this section here to kind of save a little bit of time, but if I go to Polygon, let's now get rid of everything we don't need. Okay, so we're going to get rid of everything else. Okay, delete all of that. Perfect. There we go. So here's our little city so far, and of course you can see each of these squares you could extrude up, but you can't quite yet because they're right next to each other. So that's no good. So what I'm going to do is go to my edge mode, and I'm going to select everything. And then we're going to bevel this. Okay. Now, the amount that you bevel will determine the distance of your corridors here. Right now, they're all going to be the same distance. So when we come in here, we need to make sure that it works for these as well as these. I think this will be fine. Just as an example, this happened to rest at 0.5. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to say OK. Now, what I'm going to do is go to my selection mode for face, and I'm only going to select the things that I want to be buildings. I'm not going to select anything else like this. We're just going to ignore that. We'll just select the things we want to be buildings, okay? Now, doing Control-Shift-I will invert my selection, and you can delete this or you can separate this. I'm going to delete it because I don't want those things, but you could keep it if you wanted to make that your ground. For me, I'm going to have a separate ground object. Okay, so now everything is set up, and so we can just go to face mode, select everything, and I'm going to do extrude, Control-E, and drag up. And hit Q. Thank you, I'm done. Now, what I did was I just went ahead and looked at this and said, about how tall do I want these to be? And now you can adjust your building heights. So I just kind of select each one and say, okay, I want these buildings on the end to be a little lower. Maybe these are like shops or different things like that. And as you work towards the back, these are more high-rise. You can get these two buildings. This would be good for like a double, I call this a double feature. One and then the next one kind of steps down a little bit. It reminds me of a movie theater where I grew up, so it kind of, the name kind of, you know, has a double entendre there. It's pretty nice. And you can just alter and vary the size of these buildings, something like that, something like that. Okay, I think every building's been touched. There we go. And now, once you're happy with that city setup, then I just go ahead and right-click and say Existing Material Solid, and there you go. the solid material. Now there's a little bit of cleanup to do if you want to use these shapes going forward. For me, these are simply just markers as to the overall size and layout. Every building is going to be replaced by some kind of a modular kit that I can build up different layers, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. But if you did want to keep these, you do need to do a little bit of cleanup. So what I'm going to do is select some of these edges, and to get rid of the edge and the vertices that are kind of orphaned, I believe it's Control Delete. So if I go to my vertice, you can see there's no longer vertices there either. Okay, there's still more in there. We still need to clean that up a bit, but in just a few minutes here, look, you've got a pretty good, and this is a great approximation. If you have a nice tiling texture, you can auto map these to be straight up and down UVs, and a nice tiling scale texture for just general buildings. This would be a great thing to put like in the background. If you have a shot here, your two characters talking, you can make a quick little city out of that and make a quick little skyline, no problem whatsoever. So there you go. Okay, so in my design here, what I've been working out is my different sizes. You can see I got all these different boxes stacked on top of each other. What the hell is this? This is not low poly smoke. No, what this is my scale referencing. So Unity works in meters, and so I'm modeling here inside of meters and trying to work my way up. And I did end up taking this and scaling it a bit once I got in there because I wasn't quite happy with it. But in general, we're working off of meters. And so I have different ideas, like this is going to be a nightclub, and then I have all kinds of different buildings, like this is more like an industrial park, and over here this is going to be like a dock right here where you can dock ships, and then there's a market of some sort, and then more industrial, and then in the center of the city over here, this is all the business, this is all the snooty people here that have all their money and everything, and the people live in poverty on the opposite end of the city kind of thing. So trying to build a narrative within the city and also get different kinds of city elements. So in order to make sure that we work with this in the proper scale, obviously I don't have all day. I can't build every single building with every single window being correct. So we need to work with our LOD and all of our different tricks to make sure that we are maximizing the ability of what you can view and where a texture is good enough and where actual model needs to be. So that's what we have down here. So working on some trains here. We'll come to those in just a little bit, but we'll put those together. There you go. So this is my, I think I actually call the model, where is he? That's not the one. This guy right here. Yeah, Dude Man. Dude Man is my model that I use for every project to see what is the shape and size of a human being, So if we bring Dude Man over here, we take a look at our buildings here. So if this is the size of a human being as they're walking around, I want to have my city in layers, okay? So the first layer is the street layer, and this layer is physical geometry. So this is a modular kit of the first 2 floors of buildings, and this means that every window, every door, everything is going to have to be real as far as it's modeled, and all that. Then we have our second layer, and this is I call this the old city. So this is like the new city built on the first functional floor of the old city, which is modern day. So the old city here, first little trim layer is probably going to be real as far as model, and the rest of it's going to be tiling textures and clever mapping. Then we have the new city, and the new city is absolutely, brand spanking, shining new, all kinds of things built on literally on top of foundation of the old, and we start to we're going to have neon all throughout this, but this is where it's getting heavy. This is where we're getting entire sides of buildings have a holographic image kind of thing. Then we have the ultra new, and this is, very tops of these buildings, literally the gleaming highlight, the things that pierce the sky. And these are purposely put into specific categories as far as their size. So this is a 20 meter, this is a 30 or 40 meter, and then we get into 60 and then 80 meters. And so that way you reach a certain point where from the ground here looking up, there's no way you can tell that anything beyond this point is real or not. It's all going to look flat, and it's all going to look, with normal maps and some details notwithstanding. You won't be able to tell, you won't be able to get close enough to really tell the difference. So this is where we can start to quote-unquote cheat, and this is where we're going to start to have tiling textures and lots of, tricks up our sleeves to kind of generate the realistic feel of our city without having all this detail that we have to work into it. Okay, so enough jabbering about all that. Let's jump over to Unity and take a look at what we've accomplished so far, all right? So let's jump over here. Here we are. So in our city here, we just got the default skylight. Nothing special so far. I've just literally just thrown cubes and things in here to test and getting test objects in and getting everything worked out. So here, I'll give you a tour of the city. So I'm going to jump in here. and I'm right now in the very center nexus of the city. So first let's talk about our train yard. So if I jump over here to the very edge, you'll notice that right here we have these ramps that go down, and this is a trifold bridge. So this bridge comes together in 3 points to the center, and if I come down these ramps, which don't mind the missing walls here, come down the ramps, you'll see that now we're in the train station. And if I walk over to the center here, we're going to have a really nice holographic sci-fi board showing off all the arrivals and departures of our trains. And you can see there's one of the tunnels, there's another tunnel there, and one there. And this train here is waiting. Here he's pulled up, and here you would just walk in the doors, get on the train would just back out and go that way. Go to a different city, they have to go underwater to go to different cities, which I thought was really cool. Okay, so we're done. We've arrived in our city. Off the train, we go up the ramp, and let's take a look at our first set of kits here. So this first kit, this is our slum kit, is what I'm calling it. This is that old city where it's all the seedy undergrowth that is down on the bottom, and all the fancy people live up there, okay? And I think you can see somewhere in here I imported, or maybe I got rid of it already. I imported exactly those cubes we were looking at earlier to kind of see what the sizes are that are possible to see. And that's what helped me make these informed decisions about our design. So this bottom layer and the layer above it will be real, and then that layer starting there, that's where we're going to start to get some flat, just barely any detail, and we're really working with modularity to kind of build up from there. But here you can see we have doorways, windows, different window sizes, and then we're dealing with different window kits here. So for that first layer, though, you can actually walk into, I've got a couple of different designs. So we have a door and a full-size window, and then a double full-size window, which this is going to get collapsed to be this size. Then we have the same design, but you'll notice that the background of the store, this kind of inner store space, this is a double, and this is a single as far as the depth. So this depth is exactly twice this depth. And we're just going to put some things in there just to kind of fake it, to make it look like as you're walking along the city, this is an actual shop, and there's things that are going on in there, and things are being sold, and services are being sold. And then we have the same thing repeated here a couple more times as far as a double or single depth, but this is a smaller window, so this would be more like a bookstore or something like that, where you just have a little display window of just some smaller things. Not like this would be more like a clothing store or something larger display. And then here we have the same kind of thing with just a single tall window. So maybe clothing or something that is tall and hangs, and just lots of neon lights and things sticking off from the edges there. And all I've done here is just put a couple of cubes. These are literally just Unity cubes to kind of close these off, so I can just throw some lights in there to make sure that I can see the edges and to know, I'm using my hands, to know how deep this is, all right? Because we want to be able to look at our city and say, as I'm walking by, if I could not tell a difference between this depth and this depth, then there's no point to this depth. We should just use only this depth. And we could do that. We could just make the background black, and as you're walking around, because the point is we're going to be looking at the city as a whole, not looking in every window. But, I mean, some of my long-time viewers, you'll know me, I need to make sure that the details are as good as I can get them. So when you walk up to the door, you'll be able to see the door, you'll be able to see inside the store, reflections on the glass, as well as the whole city around you. Everything will be just gorgeous, and the camera will kind of do like a little flyby. We can look at the stores and look at the city. We have so much to build and do. So this first just 2 layers is going to be our little slums, our storefronts, and then over here, this is a good example. So that's going to be these here. Those are the advanced versions of these. And we'll be building up in different layers, and we start to add more and more. And then the land bridges across, and I've got so many great ideas for this, guys. So many cool things that I'm going to be showing you. And yes, we've kind of returned to Unity. We never really left. I've been doing side projects that you guys don't see, but we are definitely making sure that we sharpen our toolbox, make sure that we have everything possible at our disposal. So I'm not one of those people that believes in Unity is better than Unreal or vice versa. I believe that they are both incredible engines. They both have their merits, and I want to make sure I understand how to use both. Because then not only for ultimately a job or whatever, if anybody comes to me and says, hey, I'm working on a project and I can pay you $1,000 to help me with something. Okay, well then I better know what they're talking about, right? So it never hurts to know more. So don't be one of those people who just says A is better than B because you're wrong. It's not better than A or B because they both have things that they do really well. And there's no reason not to learn more. So I want to give you a quick glimpse into what we're doing here. Tons more to come in the following weeks. Don't worry, not every episode is going to be an update to this because I'm going to be really busy. I have 3 requests in the pipe, and we're working on some really cool stuff. We got some Substance Designer. We got a really cool tutorial for Unreal coming up, and I've got more on this as I make more progress with it, and I will show you along the way as much as I can as far as all the tips and tricks for making a massive city out of a small bit of modular parts. And of course, all of the flying cars, all of the glowing signs, all of that, I will be sharing with you guys as we go along. So thank you so much for joining me this week. I really hope you've enjoyed. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. And until next time, keep practicing, get better, and I'll see you next time as the pilgrimage continues.